into the unknown, into the unknown, into the unknown. I can hear you, but I won't. Some look for trouble, while others don't. And there's 1,000 reasons I should go about my day and ignore your whispers, which I wish would go away. Oh. Let it go. You're not a voice, you're just a ring in my ear. And if I heard you, which I don't, I'm spoken for, I fear. The wind is howling like this whirling storm inside. Gonna keep it in, heaven knows I try. It's time to see what I can do to test the limits and break through. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I'm free. I've had my adventure, I don't need something new. I am afraid of what I'm risking if I follow you into the unknown, into the unknown, into the unknown. Let it go. Don't let them in, don't let them see. Be the good guy you always have to be. Conceal, don't feel, don't let them know. Well, now they know, 'cause every day's a little harder as I feel your power grow. Don't you know there's part of me that longs to let it go into the unknown, into the unknown, into the unknown. Whoa, are you out there? Do you know me? Can you feel me? Can you show me? Let it go, let it go. Can't hold it back anymore. Let it go, let it go. Turn away inside the door. Here I stand, and here I'll stay. Where are you going? Don't leave me alone. How do I follow you? Let it go into the unknown.
Hey everybody, welcome to Goots' Disney Pod. I'm your host, Ray Goots, and we are at the last episode of Season 1. We did all the Disney films. We're at Frozen 2. It was made in the ancient year of 2019, and my guest today is Jess Feeney. Jess, how are you?
I'm doing great. You said you did every Disney movie this season?
Yeah, every Disney animated film. So we started with Snow White.
That's a lot. That's most of them.
Yeah, 59 movies. Or 58. I think this is episode.
Oh.
So every movie made by Walt Disney Animated Studios. So we didn't do the live action stuff, and I didn't do Pixar. And we didn't do Marvel or Star Wars. Pixar starts next week with Eagle Wit. He does Toy Story 1. So
Yeah, I don't claim any of the live action or any of that stuff as
no.
part of my Disney universe anyway, so
Yeah, eventually I'll
fine.
get to that. But yeah, I believe this is the first podcast to achieve this because a lot of people tried this. I checked on Spotify, and like the podcast would just give up around Lilo and Stitch or like around Robin Hood. I went all the way.
Is there something about Robin Hood and or Lilo and Stitch that made them give up? Because those are pretty far apart, right?
Yeah. Maybe they got. I was very surprised when after I put the podcast out. I didn't know. Maybe they got horny because there's a huge fan base that's horny for Robin Hood, which I didn't realize until
I am aware of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was vaguely aware of it as a child. Yeah.
He's a sex symbol, apparently.
They do little weird things with the animation on him where he kind of like, he'll do like a little hair toss.
Mhm.
Or like, you know, like they definitely squeezed in a lot of sex appeal in how they
Yeah,
did him.
I found out like the furry movement. You know about the furry movement?
Yeah.
Okay, I found out that started when most of those people as kids saw Robin Hood, because that movie came out in '74 and around '83 it came out on VHS and was always. I remember that was the one Disney movie that was always in the video store when I was a kid. You couldn't. Cinderella was always out, Pinocchio was always out, but that was always there. So it was never out of circulation. So I feel like
Uh-huh.
all these people who are now my age who have these furry conventions rented that movie, got horny, started the movement, and and now here we
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
I would argue that that probably started a long line of like sexy Disney animals. Like they didn't just stop there.
Well, I mean, this is going off, but Zootopia, they actually, before the movie came out, they had an event for furries to show a screening of the movie, asked them what they thought, and they said, please go to the furry groups and talk up this movie. Which is wild to me that they actually, for a kids movie, they actually courted like a fetish group.
That's kind of cool though.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, it's, I think furries now are like more accepted. It's not as like weird as it was like 20 years ago. So like it's more like it's more of like it's more out in the open and cool. So it's
Yeah,
not.
because I think people understand now that like it is a sex thing, but it's a little bit more than just a sex thing. Like they actually like to
express themselves and stuff.
just
Yeah.
be in that thing, you know,
Yeah.
just to be in their little outfit and like go out and live life.
Yeah, some of the outfits are really like advanced now. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
They're cute. I want one.
Well, I think we're gonna have to wear the one with the mask and stuff pretty soon. The only people safe are gonna be people in furry suits from COVID.
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah.
yeah. Kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah. But yeah, I did every movie, and I did every movie with a different comedian every. So I think this is a pretty big accomplishment, both in the comedy scene and in the Disney world. But you know, I don't know.
How well do those two intersect? Like, do you think most comedians are really into Disney, or like they don't?
Well, yeah, most of the comedians I interviewed were. There were some that were like, oh, I like The Simpsons when I was younger, and that was it. But The Simpsons are now owned by Disney, so they were a Disney kid. So, but they mainly getting Disney fans to listen to this. Not a lot of. I feel like if I got like Dave Attell to talk about a Pinocchio, that would have like made more of a cross section. But you know,
Sure, yeah.
maybe I can get him to talk about. Maybe I can get him to talk about Coco. I don't know. Down the road. But Jess, let's get to know you a little bit. How long have you been doing stand up?
6 years.
Okay, cool. And what got you started? How'd you get started?
Well, I used to act, and I did that for a really long time. I was like, I acted all throughout school, and like I started to do a little bit into my college years, and then I realized that I was not very good at it. So I like quit acting, aka I quit doing like community theater in my tiny hometown for no money. And I was really depressed, and I was just like looking for anything to kind of make me feel better. Mm-hmm. So I was watching a lot of stand-up because it's just like cheap serotonin, you know, it's just like jokes, and it just made me feel better. And then after a while I was like, I think I could do it. I feel like, you know, I don't have to be a good actor, but I can still perform. And then not too long after that I started working in a bar that had stand-up. So
was that the Big Hunt?
Yes, the Big Hunt, in DC.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's the only place I ever performed that in DC. So.
Yeah, it's cool.
No. I mean,
I liked working there better than I liked performing there.
Oh yeah, I performed there on New Year's Eve, 2016 into 2017.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure that was fun.
Yeah, they were very judgmental. I felt like I don't know, it was a weird crowd there.
Yeah, they're not always so big on outsiders.
Yeah, they all worked in like I think they all worked in the Capitol, the people, but they were also kind of like hipstery.
Fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't that many people. And then so did you start doing comedy at the Big Hunt, or?
I mean, well, yeah, kind of. I performed there when I was first starting out. It wasn't the first place I went up. The first place I went up, I don't even think exists anymore. It was called the Beer Baron. And it was like a bar that happened to have a stage, and they did comedy. But now I think they're like exclusively comedy. I don't know what they're called. It's some kind of like the comedy whatever. But
Mhm.
like back then they were just a bar that happened to have a stage, and now they're like a comedy venue. I don't know what it's called though. Used to be the Beer Baron.
Okay, cool. And when did you move to New York City?
That was February 2017.
Oh, you've been here for a while. Okay.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was right after the election. I remember that.
Okay. And have you? I noticed you needed to download Zoom when I asked you to do this episode. Have you been doing? I know. Well, you have been doing outdoor stand up, but my
Yeah.
show and stuff. But how has your stand up been going since COVID hit?
It's been bleak.
Okay.
I've done a couple Zoom shows. I don't know. I don't want to like shit on the medium, but like I just never really got comfortable. I have done some.
I don't like it.
And I can't. I want so badly to adapt to not hearing laughter after I tell a joke. Like I want so badly to be okay with that. But I just can't get used to it. And I know I'm gonna have to, because once it gets cold again, we're not gonna be able to do stuff outside. So
Yeah.
eventually I'm gonna have to bite the bullet or fucking become a YouTuber or something.
Yeah. A streamer or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't done much. I've been doing comedy for 6 years, but it's really like 5.5 because I didn't do it for a whole 6 months this year.
Yeah, it's funny. You're like the second. I almost consider you like a person who I became friends with during COVID, because I booked you on my St. Patrick's Day show. We started talking a little bit, and then I was gonna meet you. Here's the craziest thing. You were at my house, and I didn't even realize it. Remember 2 years ago, you went to the
Yeah,
party?
a couple times.
Yeah, with Mike.
I've been to your house a couple times.
Yeah, before we even met, right? I mean, I didn't meet you.
Well, we met.
I didn't know who you were.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and then I booked you on my show here, and now so you're like Amanda Gale's my other person who I met during this whole COVID thing. So it's funny, you're my second COVID friend.
Yeah, I remember that because I was supposed to do your show on March 17th, and New York shut down on March 16th.
Yeah, so I had to do like no show. Sorry.
Just missed it.
Just missed it.
But
it's okay. I mean, I guess we could have still had the show. We probably just would have gave everybody COVID, but
I don't think you could have at that point.
No, I couldn't.
The 16th was like.
No, I would have got in trouble. But my neighbors saw anybody walk out of the house, like a big group, they would have called the cops. People were like super paranoid back then.
Oh yeah, it was at your house. Yeah, that is a little different.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't trust anyone right now. So where did you grow up as a kid? What was your childhood like?
I grew up in Woodbridge, Virginia, which is a small town right outside of DC. It's like a DC suburb.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty poor, small town. Yeah, and I didn't leave my hometown until I was 22.
Oh wow.
So
okay.
I was there for quite long enough.
Well, you seem like very worldly for someone who lived in a small town until 22.
Do I really?
Yeah.
I can see how it would come off that way initially, but I think under very little examination, I'm very pure white trash.
Okay.
I just put on a good show.
I feel like a lot of people who who live in a small town until their 20s, like, are very like almost like pushovers or naive or something. And I feel like you stick up for yourself a lot.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, and also I think it is weird that I left when I did, because usually if anybody was going to leave, they would leave like right after, as soon as they got cut loose. Mm-hmm. But I like kicked around there for a while and then got out. And I was one of the lucky few. So thank God.
All your friends are still there?
A lot of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's like, I feel like there's like 5, maybe 10 people that I used to mess with that like made it out. A lot of people went to DC.
Okay.
Fine.
That's right. That's nearby. I forget. Okay, cool. I gotta learn more about.
It's not really leaving the nest, but at least
it's the city.
In Woodbridge. Yeah, exactly.
This is the city diversity. Some type of diversity.
Something.
And were cartoons Disney a big part of your childhood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I grew up with one older sister, and we were both very like dramatic, because I was an actress and she was a singer, so we were very performy. I think we also didn't get a lot of attention from our parents, so like we were always just kind of trying to like get as much attention as we could, just like look at me, like just dancing around and doing stuff. So we loved the princesses. We would always watch the movies and be like, I'm her, and we would like compete to, oh, kitty.
It's my cat. My cat sometimes likes to like pay attention to me while I'm doing this. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We would always fight over like who we get to be,
Mhm.
and it'd be like whoever calls it first. Like when Ariel comes on the screen, the first one would be like, I'm her. Like they get to be Ariel.
Okay.
And then, the other sister would be like, I want to be Ariel. It's like, what are we talking about? No one is Ariel. Like,
yeah.
but
What
yeah.
was the other sister like? One of those seven sisters that Ariel seemingly didn't care about, or
No,
who
I
would the
think
other girl be? Flounder.
no. I think my sister would have been like Cinderella,
Okay.
and I would have been like both of the stepsisters. Or like she would have been Ariel, I would have been Ursula.
Okay. All right.
We were kind of like the night and day kind of
Well,
sister.
does she have lighter hair than you?
Yeah, she was
Okay.
blonde. She's very pretty. She
'cause
was
it
always
is-
kind of like the leading lady, and I was like the villain.
Yeah, because in Disney, unless you're Arabian, if you have darker hair and you're a woman, you're a horrible human being.
You're mean.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you're
Yeah.
a very mean person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for Jasmine, or Pocahontas, but they're ethnic, so they can't help themselves.
Right, and you have to be wearing very little clothing to compensate.
Yeah, you have to get naked then.
Yeah, you gotta get
You're a good
naked,
person.
otherwise you're mean.
Yeah, you're a horrible human being.
Brunettes have to be naked, otherwise they're mean.
Yeah, they're really well. It's so funny because when I was examining the earlier movies when Disney was still around, all the nice girls had very small breasts,
Yeah.
and the evil women or the women who like got punished had huge racks or nice
Mhm.
butts, and I'm like, Disney had something against women that had an actual chest. That's
Yeah, no, I think it was very deliberate, and they also had the teeny tiny waist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like their waist was like less far apart than both sides of their face. Like the teeny tiny waist and the little perky tits.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
the mean
sometimes
babies had
even
the big tits.
non-existent. Like Snow White has almost like no tits. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, not that I was checked, but but I had Barry Ribs.
Who?
Barry Ribs, the
No.
old man. Okay, he was the guest for Snow White, and he's a 60-something-year-old man who had never seen Snow White, which was shocking.
Oh wow.
I just thought seeing Snow White was a prerequisite for being born. I just thought God showed it to you on your way out of the womb. Like, you need to know about this movie.
She was the only one that I ever got compared to that was like the princess.
Oh yeah, she has black hair. She has darker hair. Oh okay. Yeah,
She's
yeah.
unique.
She's unique. Yeah, but that was the time of Betty Boop and stuff, so you can't. I don't know.
Yeah. We just had a very brief flash in the pan when we were allowed.
Yeah. So Little Mermaid was your what do you think? What movie do you think was your favorite?
Not Little Mermaid. I really I think Aladdin
Okay, yeah, that's a great
was
one.
probably my favorite. I really liked Lion King too, but I think I think the character of the genie probably put it over the top for me. But I think the
Okay.
music in the Lion King is probably better. So it's one of those two.
Well, I like Aladdin because I always call it's the stand-up comics Disney film because you have Gilbert
Yeah.
Gottfried
Yeah.
and Robin Williams, and they're just riffing, and the movie's kind of catered to their sense of humor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I think they had to change around most of the movie because when they cast Robin Williams, because he just went nuts improving.
Oh no, but also that role was written for Robin Williams.
No, yeah, I know, but if they didn't get him, I think they would have done something a little bit different.
Yeah, they would have had to.
Yeah, they
I
would
mean
have
that movie didn't even really make sense, like the way that they were doing Disney movies. The whole character of the genie was just such a new, like, novel thing.
Yeah, he's like referencing out because they always said don't make any,
Yeah, right.
they had a rule about references from like outside, like like to not date the movie. And then
Right.
Robin Williams is doing Taxi Driver,
And like
he
Rodney
just-
Dangerfield.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like- and they just went with it. But it was the right choice because I mean that movie's a classic.
Yeah.
You had told me you had seen Frozen 1, right?
Yes, I have.
And what did you think of Frozen 1?
I liked it when I saw it.
Mhm.
I did rewatch it for this though, and I'm less impressed
With Frozen 1, we're talking about.
with Frozen 1. So I was always a huge fan of Idina Menzel, so I was really excited when I found out she was going to be Elsa. And the movie's cute. I think it's funny. But I think I actually enjoyed the second one a little bit more.
Really? Okay, we'll get into that in a second. Okay, so first of all, I like Frozen 1 a lot. I don't love it like everybody else, but I like it. Like I can watch it if it's on.
It's very
Uh,
funny.
Yeah,
I
well,
like the jokes.
the jokes, the music, the animation, it's pretty good, and it's pretty good. It's not my favorite, but and
Hmm.
I get why this was the movie that kind of like all the kids watch over and over again until they pass out.
Yeah.
Kids, the kids of this generation. But Frozen 2, well, let me just ask you, what did you think of Frozen 2 before I tell you what I thought?
I liked it a lot. I thought it
Oh,
was very.
I hate it.
You hate it.
I hate Frozen 2. Oh my
I
god.
think it's better.
Really? Okay, why do you think
Yeah.
this is better than Frozen 1?
Okay, no. What I was gonna say, there are a lot of moments in there that feel very sequel-y,
Mm-hmm.
and like they've kind of written themselves into a hole. Like I feel like they were kind of attempting to tie up Elsa's story from Frozen 1, and they weren't super prepared to do that, so it led to a lot of plot holes. And there were also parts in it that felt kind of like just shoved in for
Yeah.
like to like appease the audience.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the idea of the plot a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more compelling to incorporate like, the enchanted forest and like, the elements, and how Elsa's not just a freak, she's like actually a part of something. And I also like seeing her as being part of the group versus just by herself. I never thought I like Anna, but I don't feel that Elsa is a strong enough character to really carry the story on her own.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed seeing her dynamic when she's actually like with Anna and Kristoff, and they're like solving problems together, and she's just kind of like one of the group, and her powers are just like one of their strengths that they all have to work together. So yeah, I don't know, I just had a little bit more fun watching this one.
Well, I'll give you this. I like the songs a lot. I thought this
Yeah.
movie, all the songs were good. Not that the last movie didn't have a bad song, but I just felt all these songs are very, very strong. Especially,
Yeah.
Did you see Hamilton?
No, I was gonna ask you about that.
Okay, the guy who stole the show in Hamilton steals. I Lost in the Woods. Did you like that song?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
And he's the king.
I love his voice. I was gonna ask you about the guy who voices Kristoff, because I'm not familiar, but his voice is incredible.
So you haven't seen Hamilton yet on Disney Plus?
No, I was gonna ask you if I could watch it.
Yes, you can watch it. He steals the show in Hamilton, and I didn't realize it was the same guy. But like, his song is the only song I have still in my head from Hamilton. Every other song I forgot. But that Lost in the Woods is such like an 80s song. I really like that song.
I like it too, and I think it is genuinely funny. And I think a really cool thing that is true in both Frozen 1 and Frozen 2 is that I think the writers and the animators work really well together to like create jokes together. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of just drawn jokes, there's a lot of jokes just within the animation. And I think the idea of the song is very like sweet and funny, but I really enjoyed all the little things that the animators threw in to make it more funny. Just like when it came to like the split screenshots of like him standing, then his face, where it's like a very like 80s pop ballad video kind of thing.
And like with her showing her fading, like him thinking about her, and then she fades away.
Yeah. And him like just like the facial expressions that he's making. Like I thought it was genuinely funny. I thought it was kind of a weird tone shift though, and I think that's where a lot of my problems with this movie lie. Like I think it's very fun, but also a lot of the choices I'm like, why did they do that?
Well, I just feel, well, here's the deal. I just feel like I think they wanted Walt Disney to do Snow White 2, like way back in the day. They were like, you got to make Snow White 2. And he was just like, where do I go? She got the prince. They killed the queen. What really happens next? Like, there's no story left.
Right.
And so he wouldn't do sequels. And then after he died, they're like, fuck you, we're making all these sequels.
Right.
And that's the same thing with this movie. Is I kind of feel like Frozen 1, they kind of like, it was a happy ending. There's nowhere to go. We're going to move on. And then all of a sudden they made so much money that the powers of use like make a Frozen 2. And they're like, fuck, where do we go? And I feel like that's what that movie suffered from. They didn't really know where to go.
I don't know. I disagree. I thought it tied up really well because I think at the end of the movie Frozen 1,
Hmm.
I was kind of asking myself like how is that supposed to work with her being queen when she still can't really all the way control
Yeah.
her and she still seems so much like she wants to be like in the elements and like it just didn't make sense. Like it just didn't make sense for her character
Yeah.
for me. It just seemed like this doesn't really seem like something she wants to do. You know, it's kind of
Yeah.
like
No, I hear. Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
just doing it because like she has to.
Well,
So
that's like
I don't.
almost. I was saying. I'm sorry. I'm saying this. Whatever. There's a lot of Disney movies where you'll have a female character who's like, "Oh, this sucks. I want to get out of here. I want to
Yeah.
go find someplace better." She goes on an adventure, and at the end of the movie, she's right back where she started, and
Right.
now she's happy. It would almost be like a movie where you move to New
Right.
York, do stand up, you do stand up for a week, then go back to your small town, like everything's okay. So
Right.
like, yeah,
Right. I feel like it has a lot to do with like the whole like want versus need thing where like Elsa she wants to like go out where no one's around and like exercise her powers and not worry about anything, but what she needs to do is like take care of her kingdom, and ideally there would be a way for those two things to kind of connect.
connect. And I feel like you're right. At the end of the movie, it did connect because now she's out in the woods. Arendale's safe. Anna's going to take care of like the other part, and she's out in the woods with all these, hippies. I guess I don't know what they are.
Well, no,
What,
but I like the ending to the second one. I think it makes more sense.
well, no, I like the ending, but the way they got there, I thought was very dull. It was very like convoluted. It was a lot of like talk. It was a lot of like tell it,
Yeah,
show it.
yeah, it was, and I feel like there was a certain amount of that in the first movie too, but it was just kind of like a lot of explainy, like
Yeah,
you have to suspend disbelief a lot. Like you have to kind of take the character's word for it a lot.
the yeah, I thought the big problem with the movie is that the villain of the movie is already dead, like 30 something years. The grandfather, that the grandfather's the one who caused the problems. So he's
Yeah,
dead, and the parents are dead. I thought they were gonna find the parents and want to adventure with the parents. That's what I thought from the trailer. Like, oh, the parents are out there. She's gonna go find her parents, and then they're gonna like fight a villain or something. And with the parents being dead and the grandfather being dead, the conflict is like, I just felt like there wasn't enough conflict there. It was more of, I get it was more about her inner conflict,
yes.
especially in the song "Show Yourself," where she realizes that she's been looking for herself, not like.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. I
Okay.
think that going back to Frozen 1, I really hated Hans as a character. Not because he was a piece of shit, but just because I felt like the whole story could have existed without him.
It
And
was
I
Hans the guy in this movie. I forgot. Or
no,
that's the villain.
Hans was the mean guy. He
The
was
mean
the guy
guy.
who tricks Anna into accepting his proposal, and then at the end he's like, "Oh, just kidding. I'm actually a cunt and I'm mean and for no reason." Like I feel like that whole movie could have happened without him, but I think that the writers were like, "Well, this is a kids movie and they're not going to be advanced enough to accept a man versus self kind of a conflict. There has to be a man versus man
Yeah.
conflict or else their little brains are going to pop." But I thought that he was just an unnecessary character, and it added a whole like romantic element that didn't need to be there, with Anna being like, "Oh, he's my true love," and like which they always make fun of her for, of like getting engaged to the man that he just met. But like I don't think it adds anything to the story. And I think that's kind of the same mistake that they made here. Like they kind of wanted to force some kind of man versus man conflict where it didn't really seem to belong.
Well, yeah, and the problem is the villain is already dead, so like there's only so much conflict you can get from, well, he already was defeated. You know what
I
I mean?
guess you could say that like the spirits are kind of the villain, or at least they're like antagonistic in a way because they wreck Arendelle so the people don't have a place to live, so the goal is to like reconcile with what the spirits want. But then at the end they kind of just fuck that up because the whole thing is like, oh well, we have to be willing to let Arendelle be destroyed for its like prior evils, so we're gonna like break the dam. but then Arendelle doesn't get destroyed, and it's just kind of like, okay, so there were no stakes, you know?
It feels like, because I've watched all these, and I'm feeling like, I feel like everything after because Coco, they don't really have big stakes anymore in these Disney movies. I feel like kids can't handle it. Whereas kids love stakes. At least when I was a kid, I love it if Ariel fucks up, everyone's dead, and she's a slave for eternity. And now that I feel like they shy away from those like high stakes, where if Aladdin messed up, a lot of people are gonna die if Aladdin fucks up.
Right, yeah. What is the song? What's the song Anna sings to herself when she's like all alone?
Is it the one at the beginning of the movie?
No, it's in the middle. It's right after Olaf like melts or whatever.
I'm gonna pull up the Wikipedia page. Oh, that was my favorite part. I hate Olaf. Do you like Olaf? I think
he's so funny.
Really? I don't like Josh
Gad. And I think they draw him super funny. I like his jokes. I think Olaf's fun. I'm pro Olaf. I'm pro Olaf. Yes.
He's my least favorite part of both movies. I don't know. I like those characters. Is it The Next Right Thing?
Yes, The Next Right Thing. Okay. Yes. I really liked this song because
that's it.
It's just unapologetically sad. You know, it's not trying to be anything for the kids. You know, it's her singing about like, there's literally no hope for me, and I gotta keep going. There's no tying it up in a bow. There's no, if I fight, then I'll get something. There is none of that. It's just everything is lost. I'm just gonna keep going. And I think that's really cool that they didn't try and like dumb it down for kids. And I also think that's an important thing for kids to understand, is that sometimes in your life, you know, you're really not aiming for anything. You're just kind of trying to survive, you know? Sometimes you might feel hopeless, but it's important to keep going.
Yeah, well, they wrote the song. They were inspired by the song because two people who worked in the movie, one lost the son and one lost the daughter. So that inspired them.
Oh my God. No kidding.
Yeah, that's crazy, but yeah. What did you think? And I don't know why they made this the single, the radio single last fall, and I don't know why they did it, because now they've heard the whole song. What did you think of Into the Unknown?
I liked it.
You liked it? I liked it when I heard it. Because the Panic from is it Panic in the Disco or Panic at the Disco?
At the Disco.
Okay, Panic from the Disco.
It's Panic at the Disco. You got to add an exclamation point.
Yeah, their single. They're at the end credits, but their single version. It's funny when I was going to Mexico.
God, Brandon Urie. Can't keep out of anything musical.
Yeah, but I downloaded that song on Spotify before I went to Mexico for the first time to see my family's roots, and I was listening to that song on the plane while we were like landing into Mexico, and I was like, it's such a good song. Like, it reminds me of going into Mexico, which was to me at the time I don't know what's gonna happen in Mexico.
Yeah.
Now the whole year I just had, I wish I stayed there. But yeah, I really like that song. But now when I hear the other songs, I like Lost in the Woods and Show Yourself a lot better. What did you think of Show Yourself?
I thought, okay, this movie did a really funny thing. Okay, so first of all, I don't like Let It Go.
Okay.
I know that's
you don't like Let It Go.
Well, here's the thing. I feel like, okay, so throughout her career, Idina Menzel, I feel like every role she's been in, people are just trying to push her to just like go to like her limits vocally. Like they did that in Wicked. They've done it for like pretty much every role that she's been in. She's had to like push her voice to the limits. And, you know, obviously she's so well known because she's got this huge range. She's got this big voice and she's sultry and belty and like she can handle it. But I think that just because Idina Menzel can hit every note doesn't mean she should. You know, like songs like Let It Go and to a lesser extent Show Yourself just end up sounding really like screamy. Okay. Like a lot of the songs in Wicked I really liked when I first heard them, but now when I listen to like Defying Gravity, it's very, very screamy. It's just Idina Menzel screaming. And of course no one can do it better than she can, but I think that Into the Unknown musically is a lot more interesting because she's in the best part of her range. Not necessarily the highest part, but she's in the best part of her range. There's some really cool like minor chords and like minor harmonies that show up, which is I think a welcome change. Yeah, the harmony with like the disembodied voice I thought was really interesting. So I just think musically Into the Unknown is the most interesting song. If not the most difficult, I guess. Like if not the most impressive in terms of her vocal talent.
Well, I think the part, because I know I was reading people's comments on the Panic at the Disco. Sorry, I keep going Panic in the Disco, Panic from the Disco. But the Panic guys, they said, that's that part like really showed his range. I remember people being,
that thing.
Yeah, that part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's hard.
It's hard.
It's a really hard run to hit, but it's not. I don't think that it is beautiful. It's very powerful and like strong, but I like my songs to also be beautiful.
I kind of, if they do a Frozen 3, they got to give Elsa a more fun song. All of her songs are the wanting songs.
Yeah.
I want adventure and the great. All of Elsa's, that's all Elsa sings. Yeah. She has like 4 or 5 songs where she's just wanting things. Yeah. And they got to give her a song in the next movie, like almost like Beauty and the Beast, which is just like a really pretty, nice song. Not a song about give me my destiny right fucking now.
Right. Yeah. All eyes on me. Let me like erect an ice castle and make myself a new dress.
Stuff like. Did you? By the way, have you? What? Yes.
You go first. I'm not going to forget.
Speaking of Dina Zell, because I thought she had a really wild winter last year, the final winter of movies in this country. She went out with a bang. Did you see Uncut Gems?
Yes.
Wasn't she great in that?
She's great. She's so cute. I love her.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought that was such an interesting, because she's in the #1 animated film of all time at this point. Probably forever now, because there's going to be no more movie theaters. And she was also in Uncut Gems, and it's just such a juxtaposition. But bring up your point.
Okay. So after, we've already heard Into the Unknown. Great. And then Show Yourself happens, and I'm like, okay, so I guess we had to have that song where she's super screamy and hits the big notes. I'm like, all right, movie, I didn't really need that, but I get it. She's got to make herself a new dress, and she can't do that without belting for 4 minutes. Like,
okay,
fine, okay. But then right after she sings Show Yourself, she's like conjuring these memories out of snow with her powers. And one of the memories is of her singing Let It Go. And when she hears it, she cringes. She sees herself like, I don't care, that big thing. And she just goes, oh, and like recoils from it as if like she knows and like the movie knows that
they're sick of the song.
That is not good.
Yeah.
That just like big screamy chorus is not good. Like she physically recoils from it, like holds her ear, and it's just like, ugh, like I can't believe I did that.
Oh yeah, that's right. I missed that. I saw it. I remember that from the first viewing. Somehow I missed that the second viewing. But yeah, that's right.
It was so funny because right after they do another big song like that, they're just like, oh, by the way, Let It Go sucks. And I'm like, all right, well, you just did it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, because I don't know if you've ever, because I'll put a cover to start my episodes of a song, and when I looked up the Let It Go covers, like YouTube almost broke with the number of Let It Go covers on YouTube. I just feel like it's been covered so many times in so many different genres. It's like we did it.
Well, it's a challenge. It's one of those songs that's just not a lot of people can sing like that. So the people that can want to prove that they can. I feel like it was the same for Defying Gravity when Wicked came out. It's a very difficult song, and I think if you can do it, you're gonna want the world to know that you can do it.
You're gonna hate me. I've never seen a Broadway play.
Oh, you gotta go, man.
Well, I don't know when that's gonna happen.
You might have missed your chance. Yeah, that's
I think I missed my chance, but
I think you'd enjoy it. I think if you enjoy Disney, you would enjoy it.
Yeah, I never went. I think my dad was gonna take me to see something that was big in the 90s. I can't remember. Maybe The Producers, and I was just like, no. But like, it's so funny because a lot of my friends I grew up with have not go see. I used to do a joke about it because like tourists can't wait to go see Broadway plays, and then you ask your friend, you grow up here, and this is part of my language here. But this, like, you ask your friend, like, you went to high school with, you want to go see a Broadway play? What are you, a fucking faggot?
Yeah,
You like the arts now? You fucking idiot? Yeah.
Oh no. The other middle school kids were not nice to me. Like I was very big into all that stuff in middle school and high school, and I got made fun of a lot.
Yeah. So, but I'm taking you've seen a lot of Broadway plays, right?
I mean, I haven't seen. I saw them a lot when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
That was when I was more into it. When I like thought that I was gonna be the next Idina Menzel. I saw a lot of them back then, and I think I've seen enough to have like a cursory knowledge of like the classics.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I haven't seen too many new ones, so I'm excited to watch Hamilton.
Yeah, Hamilton was. I watched on the 4th of July, and at first, me and the people were watching like, this is stupid. Let's watch something else. And then the more it came, the more we got into it, and then we watched the whole fucking thing.
It's such a big part of the zeitgeist now. Like I have to see it. It's even to the point now where it's like almost canceled.
Oh yeah, well, there's some parts of it I thought were a little problematic to me. I just feel it's weird to have like people who own slaves and you're trying to make them cool. Like they make Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson kind of has almost like a Prince Andre 3000 swag.
Right.
And to me, that's just like weird because of his past. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was the main complaint people had, was that it was kind of tone deaf to have like Black American actors, first of all, playing slave owners, and also, like you said, kind of like glorifying them. I think it's funny because I think when Hamilton first came out, it was like very woke to have a all people of color cast, and we were so grateful for that we didn't even think about the material until later on, and then we're just like, wait a minute, maybe this isn't the best.
Well, but my thing is like that I was reading articles about Hamilton that Ted Cruz loves it, Hillary loves it, Obama loves it. Who's some other Republican who like has murdered people? Lindsey Graham loves it. It unites everyone. But when Lindsey Graham sees Thomas Jefferson swagging, he's like, "That's me. I like that. I'm a super." They have me misunderstood. I'm actually a super cool dude. So it's almost like a power fantasy for them. Like I'm a hip cool dude. You guys don't get how hip and cool me and Ted Cruz are. It's almost like you're excusing that behavior. That's how I feel. That's why they like it so much.
Do you know if anyone has like addressed this with Lin-Manuel Miranda? Like if he has thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think he just dismisses them. I know there was like 1,000 articles written about it, and then
good point.
Yeah,
it's not even like a stretch. It's a good point.
I would have, and somebody said, well, nobody would have went to go see it. I'm like, why didn't you? George Lucas tried so hard to make a movie about the Red Tails, which were the all-black World War II pilots.
Yeah,
and he had to actually, even after he made 6 fucking Star Wars films and took over the Hollywood, he still had to use his own money to get it made, and he barely got promoted. He basically. Yeah, and I'm like, why not a musical about that? And they were like, oh, but no one's going to go see it. They're going to go see about Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. And I'm like, so at least all the black actors have a shot. I'm like, well, that's true. I would probably go see. If Prince made a music about Hitler, I'd probably go see that. But it's still a music about Hitler. Not that Hitler is the same as the founders of our country. But you get my point.
Yeah. Well, in many ways it was. But I think what you're describing is just like the question of, do we want to make money or do we want to have something that's going to have lasting impact and lasting value? I think Hamilton probably made a lot of money, but look how long it took for people to be like, no,
Yeah.
It came out like 5 years ago. So
yeah, and that's how Hollywood is. And like, if George Lucas is like, I want to make
everything is how art is.
Yeah, that's why I sometimes think people don't get when they're like, oh, everything's being woke. It's hard to get representation. If George Lucas is like, I want to make an all-black film, and people in Hollywood are like, yeah, fuck you, bro. After 6 motherfucking Star Wars films,
right,
right. You think they'd be like, okay, yeah, here. You would think a Disney or some studio would just throw money at him.
Yeah. Yeah. When was he trying to get this made? Because I feel like he's made a lot of atrocities that probably shouldn't have gotten made.
He tried to get it made since '83, and he got it made like when the fuck was this made? Sorry, I
have not heard of it. I'm gonna let you know.
Yeah, because it bombed horribly. But he got it made. Red Tails, 2012. He didn't direct it. He just produced it. It's with Terrence Howard and fucking
Terrence Howard.
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Oh,
and Neo and Michael B. Jordan and Bryan Cranston. Nobody saw
strong
that.
cast.
Yeah, well,
I guess it takes more than that, though.
Yeah, I know, right? Going back to Frozen 2, the other thing I wanted to mention, I kind of wanted, just for, because Anna went through so much to get Elsa back in Frozen 1. I kind of wanted a few scenes of Anna and Elsa actually having fun as adults. Because Frozen 1 ends right when they reunite. And in Frozen 2, the minute we start, she's like miserable. And it's like, aren't you happy you're with your sister? Your sister literally went through hell and back to save you.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, it did raise a lot of questions about their relationship, because it was like, you know, they have that incident when they're children where Elsa puts the streak in her hair and like hurts her or whatever, and so they erase her memory. And then it seems like from there on until adulthood, they don't really see each other.
Yeah, and now
they just keep Elsa locked away in a room for years and years, which also I feel like doesn't get properly addressed. No one ever like says like, "Hey, we're torturing this child." Like, why are we doing that?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you know, the parents are dead for years, and she's not leaving that room.
Yeah.
Wouldn't the other servants be like, "Hey, Elsa, you know, why don't you ever leave this room?" You know, like they're just like, "No, she doesn't leave her room."
Right, or like, who's keeping her in there? Like, who could possibly contain her? She's like essentially all powerful. I didn't think it made sense. And you're right. It gets to the point where when they finally connect in Frozen 1, and now they have like sister time, it's almost like they're right back where they started.
Yeah, she like doesn't.
We don't ever get to see them like build their relationship as they are now.
Yeah, like
yeah.
I just feel like Anna. I just feel like, and I've had relationships where I like a girl and the girl is just like kind of. I just feel like Anna's constantly chasing Elsa. We're best friends. We're sisters. And Elsa's like, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm gonna go over here now. You know.
Yeah. It is a sad dynamic. Yeah. And it's like in Frozen 2 when Elsa finally like goes off on her own, and Anna is just distraught. Like, she's singing about how her whole life has been like in service to Elsa, just like trying to get that door open and then like trying to save her. And like, it is very sad. You don't even, I feel like the story doesn't really dwell on that enough until we get to that point. And then you're just like, oh yeah, she really is just kind of
just miserable all the time.
Yeah, just like following Elsa around, and Elsa's just kind of like, meh.
Yeah, like
I'm gonna make dress.
Yeah, I like you, but these people in the forest are way more interesting.
You're cool, but like I'm magical. But then turns around and is like, we do everything together. It's like, bullshit, Elsa. Like, you don't care. You don't give a shit about poor Anna.
And probably she's probably like annoyed that fucking Olaf came with. What's his name? Not Olaf. What's the guy from Hamilton? What's Kristoff? Sorry, I always want to call him Hans. She's probably even like annoyed when Kristoff shows up. Oh, this guy again? Like, fuck.
Maybe I do. Another kind of weird, like relationship thing is also in the beginning of the movie. Kristoff is trying to propose.
That was weird. That, by the way, that was stolen from Rescuers Down Under. I don't know if you ever saw that movie.
Yeah, I remember that, but I don't remember Bianca being such a cow about it.
Well, like, the weird part is he's trying to have a talk with her about the first movie, and she just starts acting like a lunatic. And I'm like, I don't think Anna would act like this.
Yeah, she's being such an asshole. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, dude, can you calm down for a second? Yeah. That's one of those choices that seemed really contrived. Like, why is she being such an asshole right now?
Well, I think they needed a reason for Kristoff to be in the movie, for him to have a plot, so he's not just standing there and being like, where to next, Anna and Elsa? Whatever you need, Anna and Elsa, because if him and Anna are happy, then he's just kind of just standing there. Well, so he has to have a problem. But it did make her look like a lunatic and an idiot.
It did, yeah. And then I think there were parts in the movie where I just kind of felt bad for Kristoff. Like, there's the part where he goes off all night and he's like planning this big proposal for her, and she wakes up and she's like, he's gone? Oh, well, then I'm gonna go too. Like, doesn't like bother to like figure out what happened. She's just like, oh, he left, well, fuck him. It's like, don't you
Yeah,
wonder where he went. Like,
it feels like they had a really great relationship up until when the movie started, and then like
yeah.
she was like, "I'm gonna start acting crazy, otherwise this movie's over in 20 minutes."
Yeah, and she's just being an asshole for no reason. And then when they finally meet back up, like he like saves her from something. Oh shit, he says something really interesting. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, like he rescues her and she's like, "I'm so sorry." And he immediately goes, "It's okay. I'm here now. What do you need?" And I was just like, oh my god. I was like, he's such a good guy. Like, she's such an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, he just puts aside everything because he thought that she left him, and she kind of did. And he just puts all that aside and just like, "I'm here now. What do you need?" I think Kristoff is probably the most mature, like, well-adjusted character.
Yeah, I think you're right. And he just has these two Looney Tunes sisters that he has to constantly put up with. He just wants to get married and take care of his girl. And it's like, my moody sister, there's always someone, like in the real world, there's always there's always a person who's just always moody, and everyone has to cater to their whims. And there's always drama in the group, and that's Elsa basically. Like, why is she moody again today? Well, it's because the spirits are, I don't know, just...
Yeah, and we could probably do more to, like, when they're making Anna act like a lunatic and she's being an asshole, it feels very incongruous because everything Anna does is for other people. It just doesn't feel like it fits her character because she is so conscientious and she's so, how is everyone okay? Am I doing enough to help everybody? But then Elsa, her character is portrayed as very pure and very, she's like this like moon child, like hippy dippy, one with the universe, whatever, kind of almost like a Christ figure, and no one really seems to call her out for being so ungrateful and so like unaccountable, like you said, to her sister, and just like selfish.
Yeah, selfish, and not... I know she's the whole movie, but I relate more to every other character but her. It's hard to relate to her because she is always like... relatable. She's always like kind of putting people in danger because I don't really feel good, and it's like...
Yeah, and there was a moment... I feel like she's very like... She's almost like white savior in this movie, and there's a part where... they're looking at like memories in the snow, and they find out that their mother was Northuldra. She was like one of the tribal people, and both of the girls get like this smile on their face, and then they turn to like the tribe people, and they're like, "Our mother was Northuldra," and it was so fucking like, my grandmother was part Cherokee. Like, they look so like, we're actually the good guys, even though
we're actually in charge of you. Yeah,
right. We're actually in charge of you. Yeah, even though our grandfather fucking like imprisoned you in this dark forest for 35 years. Like, but our mother was Northuldra, so we get it.
No, that's so true. Yeah, no, you picked that. Yeah, they did have that moment. Yeah, it was a very white savior moment. Yeah, no, you're right. Wow, that's funny. You're good at this. I'm glad I had you on this.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the movie.
What do you think? Because everyone and their everyone, Twitter mainly. I've come to realize. Let me ask you a question, because you have from a small town. You have a lot of friends who probably aren't comedians. They probably work 9 to 5s now and stuff like that. Do any of those people have a Twitter?
Not really.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that one of the biggest lies, and this is me getting conspiracy, is that a lot of people have Twitter. I'm starting to think actually no one has Twitter.
I do wonder about that, because it does seem like there's a lot of small town people on there.
Yeah, but I don't know anyone that has a job, like a regular job. All my friends who have regular jobs, who don't give a fuck about becoming famous or doing stand-up or anything, who like don't even want, they have no interest in like, being a streamer or anything like that. They just work, go home, work, go home. None of them have a Twitter. None of them check Twitter. None of them know how it works. They have an Instagram, they have a Facebook, and sometimes even have a TikTok, but they do not have a fucking Twitter. And I'm starting to think that Twitter is a bad barometer of how people actually feel in this country.
Yeah. Well, you could say a bad barometer. I think that Twitter, in terms of its format, tends to kind of bring out the worst in people.
Yes.
So it is a bad barometer, but it's also, I think Twitter, just in terms of how it's formulated, kind of feeds us those bad feelings, and then we kind of project them back, and it's kind of a cycle. But I think it's trained us to only accept information in very small bites and to respond to words that invoke a fight or flight response. And we've stopped looking for the nuances in what we're told and what we read. We're only willing to accept this little bit of information, and there's no way. I mean, there's no way a lack of critical thinking or a lack of nuance can ever contribute anything good to the discourse. You know what I mean? So it would be cool if it stayed what it was intended to be and just been like, just took a nap, gonna eat some soup. You know what I mean? But of course, we evolved far past that.
But like today, somebody posted about, there was a CNN posted that the next few months there might be like really bad lockdowns and people are gonna get depressed. And but there are a bunch of accounts said my ICU is empty, my ICU is empty, and I went. They had like 3 followers, and they started their account like a month ago. And I'm like, I think these are all like just bots from either government, like Russian government, or I think a lot of these are just bot accounts, and people think like, oh, this is what some guy in his little town thinks, and it's like, no, this is thinking. But anyway, back to Frozen. We're gonna relate to Frozen.
I just want to say I'm amazed at how easy it is to detect bots.
Yeah, no, it really is, and I'm like starting to realize like, I don't know. I'm starting to think like I don't think Twitter is a good place to make a fan base. After the show, people, the show that we're doing, people always go up to me and be like, "Do you have an Instagram?" And I do, and I'm getting most of my customers from Instagram. No one ever asks if this show has a Twitter. Nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, good. Well, we've ended Twitter this podcast. That's good. But on Twitter, when Frozen 1 came out, everybody and their mother was tweeting they wanted Elsa to be gay. And Elsa kind of has a little, very friendly relationship with one of the natives in this movie. Do you think they were trying to imply that Elsa is gay or a lesbian?
You're talking about Honey Marin, I believe her name is.
Yes.
I thought she had a really cool name. Okay, this is very interesting. Very interesting you brought this up. Okay, so going back a couple scenes from that, because my brain ticked up a little bit when that scene happened. Going back a few scenes from that, we see the meeting of Ryder and Kristoff, which I thought was really interesting. So Ryder says something about the sky opening up and like, oh, I can't believe that like we're gonna get out, or like something about like freeing the forest. And Kristoff is like, yeah, man, I get it. And then they kind of just casually like meet and make friends. And it was such a little thing, but I thought that it was really cool just to see like 2 grown men being friends with each other. I thought that was just a really cool thing that like you don't always see in kids movies, and like really in any movies, just like 2 men becoming friends, and it's a very sweet thing, and it doesn't have to be anything more than that. And then in the following scenes, I kind of got the feeling that maybe Ryder is like a little bit into Kristoff. And then you have the scene where Elsa's talking to Honey Marin, and I kind of thought the same thing. And I thought to myself, well, why do I think that? And I think that it's because we don't have enough representation of adult characters of the same sex just kind of becoming friends with each other. I feel like a lot of Disney, a lot of the relationships they push are like parent-offspring dynamics, and also heterosexual relationship, like romantic dynamics. That's what we always see. It's always about a daughter's relationship to her mother, or this man's relationship to this woman he loves. There's not a whole lot of plot centered around just people being friends with each other. So my mind did go there, because I think that we're kind of conditioned to think that if there are 2 characters who could feasibly be sexually compatible, then that's what's going on. That's what's going to happen. But I don't think it always needs to be that. I don't think the fact that she had a conversation with this woman should trigger thoughts of like sexual tension. I think it should just be normal for us to see grown-ups being friends.
But, yeah, well, I feel like adult fans of animation have ruined animation because they want every animated character to fuck the other animated character. By the way,
Yeah.
I googled that character, and there's nothing but fan art. You do an image search of her and Elsa. It's more romantic than porn, but there's all this like, where they're on top of each other, or they're like
Her name's
holding.
Honey Marin. Like, her name is Honey. Like,
Yeah, Honey Marin.
they
Yeah.
kind of slip in some little extra tenderness for Honey Marin.
The other thing too is it's a white actress playing Honey Marin. I saw the picture of the actress, and they're gonna have to change that after what happened this summer. So remember, all the actors dropped out. If they ever bring Honey Marin back,
she dropped out because Honey Marin's supposed to be wet.
no, wouldn't that? I guess they're Native Americans or
No,
what?
they're like nothing.
They're like nothing. Okay. Well, remember, like every.
So Arendelle is loosely based off of like Norwegian culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sad that I don't know this, but I don't know of.
Well, Honey Marin looks very much like Pocahontas. I mean,
right, but are there indigenous people in Norway? I guess is what I'm.
Oh,
I don't feel like there would be. I feel like Scandinavia is pretty white.
Well, they also had Sterling K. Brown. He's African American. He's in this, and I don't think are there any African Americans in Norway either.
There could be a few, but this is also.
It's a fantasy world.
It's a fantasy world, but there are some elements to it that kind of suggest that maybe this is not a complete fantasy, but maybe like a parallel Earth. They did a couple things at the end which I thought were really interesting. Matthias pulls out a photograph, and they're like talking about the photograph, and I'm like, okay, wait. So there's a monarchy. Feasibly, this is like a Norwegian culture somewhat, and Norway does still have a monarchy. It's a constitutional monarchy, but arguably still a monarchy, so that's possible. But then it would have had to take place somewhere in like the mid 1800s for photographs to be new. So
maybe
I don't
know. A post-apocalyptic world, where
maybe. And then one detail that I thought was really interesting is that in one of the like snow memories that Elsa's looking at, you see her parents when they're younger, and Aduna asks Agnar what he's reading, and he says, "Oh, just some Danish author."
Well, that's supposed to be about Hans Christian Andersen.
Sure, but if Denmark exists and Hans Christian Andersen exists.
Yeah.
Then arguably this is some form of Earth, right? Like this is some version of Earth, which I thought was really interesting.
Well, maybe the world ended and then they rebuilt this Arendelle after Trump had us all killed with COVID. The survivors went somewhere and then they got all ice power stuff. I don't know. Yeah,
and then Hans Christian Andersen had just been like rediscovered.
Yeah, they rediscovered him. Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, look at these stories." That's an interesting take. Yeah, they did have a photograph. There was weird little things. I think there's gonna be a Frozen 3, just because even though I didn't like Frozen 2, they probably made so much money with this. They'll probably do a Frozen 3. Do you think in Frozen 3, do you think they should make Elsa a lesbian, or should they stay kind of like we don't know what she is?
I would have no problem with it. I don't know. It would depend on the plot. I'm less concerned with is she gay, is she not gay? I'm more concerned with, do we need sex in the plot? I think that was a big thing for me in Frozen 1 when the story had to be driven by Hans and Anna's attraction to Hans and how that kind of drove the story. And I think they put sex in the plot where there didn't need to be any. I don't think Hans needed to be there. I don't think they needed to have that relationship. So I wouldn't be upset if she has a female love interest, as long as it adds something to the movie.
Yeah, I kind of feel like adult fans of animation, like when I was a kid, there were no adult fans, but I feel like adult fans of animation really ruin it, because when I look into, I don't watch a lot of the new animated series because there's so many adult fans like Steven Universe or My Little Pony or the new She-Ra. They constantly try to be like, either make the characters gay or make the characters hook up. And these are like people like almost my age. I'm 39 doing this on Tumblr. And I'm like, this is for kids. And in He-Man, the original He-Man, nobody fucked in He-Man. And I was in there being like, I really wish He-Man and Teela would fuck. Like, I just enjoyed the
Right.
action.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it takes away, and I feel like these adult fans sexualize these characters so fast,
Yeah.
and it just kind of like takes. You're right. It kind of takes away, and it takes away the story and the pureness of the characters. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like I remember there was a big hoorah over making LeFou gay in the new Beauty and the Beast, the live
Yeah.
action one.
Mm-hmm.
But like, he's not any gayer than he was in the cartoon. Like he doesn't have there's no on-screen male kiss. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have a male love interest. There's like a second at the end of the movie where he like dances with another man, which I would argue doesn't amount to being gay, but whatever, Disney. Like, I have no problem with gay representation in film, but also remember, yes, you're making a film for children, and I don't think we need to inject sex in every story.
Yeah, I don't think like, just because, and I feel like maybe, just like there's weirdo guys, like there was like some strange women out there that were attracted to Elsa in the first movie. Like, she should be gay because I want to fuck her.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It just doesn't matter to me. I guess I would say that I would like her to have a love interest. I think that could be nice, but they have to make sure that it makes sense and that it's.
Well, yeah, and also the other thing, like this is, I think this is a pretty interesting film because I don't know when Disney's going to have another movie like this. Like Soul is coming out for free on Disney Plus Christmas Day. I really don't know when the movie theaters are going to come back. So we could be reviewing the last theatrical Disney animated film right now, me and you, because this whole model could be changing day by day. What do you think? Like, because they shut down the movie theater by my house.
Yeah, I was just
every
yeah.
film's being delayed. What do you think is the future of the movie industry?
That's hard to say. I mean, you could kind of argue that if people were so willing to replace cinematic movie watching with streaming, that it probably might have happened already. We've had DVDs forever, we've had VHS forever, now we have streaming, which obviously opens us up to a lot more things. It seems to me that people still enjoy going and doing a thing. When you watch a movie at your house, it doesn't really feel like you're doing anything because you can walk away at any point.
Yeah.
So I think that people still enjoy going. I know that I love going on a date to the movies. I find that so much fun and so romantic. I love like getting popcorn and like cuddling up with somebody. Like I love going to the movies, but
I feel like you can, especially if the movie's good, you bond with that person.
Yeah.
Seeing a great film.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been wrong before. We didn't think the Kindle was going to catch on because people like to flip the pages, but here we are.
I used to be an avid comic book collector, and I don't recommend that. I'll tell you why I don't recommend it. Getting rid of them is fucking horrible. They're like, those chains that, like, I don't know if you ever saw a Christmas Carol that Jacob Marley would carry. Those comic books. If I ever move, those are my fucking chains. Like, oh. Like we got all this firewood for the outdoor show to keep going until December, and me and Lynette, who's helped me with the shows, we had to move my comic books, and it was an all-day thing, just moving my boxes of fucking comic books to get this firewood. I'm like, these fucking comics, I've been selling them on eBay for 5 years, I haven't made a fucking dent. Anyway, my whole point is I read now more comic books because of my not my Kindle, my tablet. Because I can store like 1,000 comic books at once on there.
Yeah, it's convenient.
Fucking great. I think if there was I think as long as COVID goes by, the movie industry is fucked. And I think the biggest mistake they made was when they put out Tenet, not putting in the drive-ins. Because I went to the drive-in to see New Mutants, and I had a great time. I felt very safe. Yeah. And I had a group of friends that wanted to go with me to see Tenet in the drive-in, and they wouldn't put it out in the drive-in. They wanted to force everyone to go to the theaters. And I think people are like, I don't feel safe. And you know what? I can enjoy movies at home now. I have 4K TVs. And I think they kind of fucked themselves doing that.
Yeah. It does seem kind of like it seems like a weird thing to go back to. It's, we might have liked it when it was a normal part of our lives, but now that we've realized that we don't really need it and that there are easier alternatives, might have been nice, but it's one thing to like keep it going after 100 years. It's another thing to completely not have it and then go back to it.
I think the reason why my shows are successful is people do want to go back to the movies. They want to go back to seeing comedy, live concerts.
I'm amazed at how many people you've got. I really did not expect people to be coming out in any sort of real way.
Yeah, well, because,
kudos to you.
Oh, thank you. Well, because I have it spaced out and it's outdoors, and I'm hearing like some comedy clubs of Eastville is having indoor shows, and they're only getting like 7 or 8 people. I heard because people. They're not willing to risk their health. They want to go back and have a good time, but they don't want to risk their health until they're guaranteed that this is gone.
Yeah, I think it's that they don't want to risk their health, and they also don't want to risk the health of others. Like
others, yes.
I've been in such like, when outdoor shows were still kind of getting figured out. I went to a couple shows where like it was kind of not cool how close everyone was, and like I wasn't so much like, I kind of feel like I'm gonna get COVID, but I was more thinking like, oh fuck, I hope I don't give anybody COVID. Like, not just because like I'm such a good person, but just because that's kind of fucking embarrassing. Like, I don't want to be out there like spreading disease, and I also don't want anybody to die. But I think it is also like I don't want to go to the movies and get COVID, but also like I don't want to be one of the few people going to the movies because it seems like I'm one of the few people who doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, I have to go see
if
Tenet.
The people around me are safe, It's like a
guilt
thing.
Yeah, so I think like the movies can come back, but you have to make it safe. And I think right now drive-ins, I like the drive-in. I ain't never been to a drive-in until this summer. I fucking like. Have you been to a drive-in?
No, I've never. It sounds awesome.
It's fucking awesome, and you're in your car, and the sound system's good. You have the sun, the moon, and the stars. I went upstate New York because there's no drive-ins here. But you see like the sun and not the sun, the stars and the moon. It's fucking epic. And like, I'll go see Tenet, but they put in the drive-in. Now I'm never gonna see Tenet. Fuck you. You ruined that. You missed.
What is that movie? Tenet? What is that?
It's Christopher Nolan. It was the first big movie. It's with Robert Pattinson. He's like a time traveler or something. I don't know. It's supposed to have like 3 or 4 twists in it. But Christopher Nolan, he did Interstellar and Dunkirk and the Dark Knight trilogy.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, there was just his big. This was supposed to be the big return to cinemas, and nobody went. People were like, "Fuck you, we're not going."
That sucks for Christopher Nolan.
And they had to delay. Now they had to delay like every big movie or put it on. Like they're putting out Coming to America 2 on Amazon Prime, which I'm excited for. And Borat 2 is on Amazon Prime as well.
What?
You didn't know about Borat?
I did not know about any of this.
Yeah,
because Coming to America 2.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be in theaters, and Tenet bombed so hard they sold to Amazon for like $100 million, and now it's going to be on Amazon Prime around Christmas time.
I mean, I'm glad I get to see it. I did not know that there was a huge want for a sequel to Coming to America.
Apparently there is.
I know people wanted that.
I mean, I wanted it like in the 90s, but then I kind of like moved on in my life, but I'll see it. I mean,
So what do you think they're going to do? Where do you think the story goes?
Oh, it's his son. It's basically a remake, I think. The son moves to America to like meet a girl or something.
You think it's going to be good?
No, I think if they made this in the 90s, it would have been good.
Yeah, you can't, because you gotta do like a completely different style of humor.
Yeah, there's certain.
You can't do the same kind of humor that was in Coming to America.
Yeah, there's certain movie series where it's like you have a finite amount, like Saturday Night Fever 3. Right now would be unwatchable. But if you made like a third Saturday Night Fever, like at the late 80s, because they made a sequel.
Yeah.
And what's another movie series? Or like The Breakfast Club. Like you couldn't really do The Breakfast Club now. Like a
cute remake though.
It would actually you could do, because if you made like Cobra Kai, you probably could. You make it like a Netflix series.
Yeah, the idea of like misfit high school kids is
now they're middle aged. Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't thinking that.
Oh, well, have you seen Cobra Kai?
Follow those same characters.
Yeah. Have you seen
Just
Cobra Kai?
Huh?
Have you seen Cobra Kai?
No, is it good? It seems so weird to me.
You like Karate Kid?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's good because like I call it Beverly Hills 90210 for 40-something-year-old men.
Yeah.
Because like all my friends who like shit on me for watching CW shows are like in love with this show, and I'm like, this is basically a CW show, but it's using characters from a movie you grew up on, so that's why you love
I
it.
I think I saw the first few minutes, and then when I found out that Ralph Macchio was going to be the bad guy, I was like,
No,
not in my house.
not here. I
We
watched the.
stand Ralph Macchio.
Oh yeah, oh wow, I like. I mean, I like it, but I like 80s things. You know, you like my stats about Kirk Cameron, right? I want to like do a thing where someone we save Kirk Cameron from.
Have you seen those movies? I mean, you know about the books, right?
I know about the books. I never saw the movies. I saw him I saw him on the Trinity Broadcasting Network doing a man on the street thing, like Billy Eichner, Kirk Cameron.
Yeah.
And he would ask people like, "Hey, have you ever stolen?" And they're like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, that's cool. You can go to heaven. Like it's fine if you." And he goes like, "But do you believe in Jesus?" "No." "Well, you're gonna go to hell." Like so like some person's like, "I never stole, I never killed, I never cheated on my wife." "Okay, but do you believe in Jesus?" "No." "Well, you're gonna go to hell then." And they're like, "Why?" "Because if you accept Jesus right now, you'll get to heaven because you're a good person, but you got it." He's like an evil human being.
Yeah, that is very evil. What a terrible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What a terrible. I mean, what's the? Jesus Christ! What's the? I mean, I consider myself loosely like culturally Christian. I think the Bible's a very beautiful book, and I don't see why we can't just leave it there. But I think that there are ways to try and convert people that don't make you seem like such an asshole. Like, why would you want to? Why would you? You can't scare people into your religion. Like, you just can't. It does that does not work.
He's building facilities, or he's like putting money into facilities where, all right, let's say because he's pro-life. Well, let's say you get raped, right? All right, let's say you get raped and you're pregnant. You go to this facility and they will teach you and the rapist, I think, how to raise the baby so the baby's like a good person. Like I don't know how it works. Like,
well, it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. Like
whatever it is, it doesn't work.
I'm just wondering, like, so, like, oh my god, my I don't know, my I don't know, my dad raped me and now I'm pregnant. I'm just throwing this out, the most fucked up scenario.
Right.
They get Kirk Cameron on the phone. "Hey, Kurt, this woman just got raped by her dad. Now she's pregnant. Oh, I got a facility." What do they do when they get to the facility? "Now you're gonna keep the baby, but we're gonna have a counseling session with you and the dad. Let's get him in." Like, what do they do? I just don't understand.
I mean, far be it for me to try and like come up with any kind of reasonable reason for this, but I think that probably the facility is just they need an enclosed space to do whatever the fuck they're doing, because they need to like I feel like they need to put a door between people and the outside, because a lot of these people are going to be like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
It's like
I feel like you get raped and your horrible parents like throw you in this facility so you cannot have an abortion, because that's basically what it is. It's basically like a prison.
Those like those like pro-life kind of answers to Planned Parenthoods where they bring you in and like try and talk you down and say like, you still have time, don't worry, like you have all of these resources available to you, and they tell you like just put it off, like you don't know for sure, you might regret it, and and we're gonna help you. And then 7-8 months later, like these girls are like, okay, well, I think I want to get an abortion, and then they find out it's too late. There's like these organizations that will just do anything and say anything to these women to get them to keep their babies.
Yeah.
So the roots of the idea exist. It's fucking
but my thing is like, if someone doesn't have any money and someone doesn't like, if you're a girl and you went to a party and then this happened, and you don't have any money, and and you like basically they're like tough luck, like, so eventually do they just leave you alone? You have to go work a shitty job to support a kid that you didn't really want? Or I don't know. I think eventually they're just like, tough luck, you're on your own.
I don't think that there is any genuine principles behind being pro-life. I mean, liberals are very quick to point out that the only life they seem to care about is like unborn fetuses, and then once that baby is born poor into a broken home, then they're just like, well, fuck you, we're not going to give you welfare.
It's like, go get a job, and you're like, what? You made me have this baby.
I think it's more just an attempt to just kind of like vilify women and like slut shame them
Yeah.
and say, oh, well, you know, if you don't want to get pregnant, then you shouldn't have had sex. And I don't know. I really don't know what the end game for being pro-life is. I don't know how it's supposed to work in a society to force
Yeah, and I mean, like,
people to have kids that don't want them. I don't get it.
and if you're like a woman and you're like, well, I would never, like, even if this baby came by accident, I'm not going to get rid of it. That's cool because that's your choice. So you made that
Right.
choice, and you know you have to change your life because you don't want to have an abortion. You know,
Right.
that's your own choice. But like, no one else can make that choice for you. You know.
Well, we gotta ask Kirk
I mean,
Cameron.
Kirk Cameron makes the choice
What?
for us. I forgot.
Yeah. Before I can make this decision, I'm gonna need to call Kirk Cameron.
It'd be so funny because if he like denounced all this and got cast in a sitcom where he was just shitting on himself being like that, he'd probably become the biggest star in the world again within like 5 episodes of that show. You know, I mean, it's that's the funniest part. Is like people want to like you, and you just are just a horrendous human being.
Yeah, wasn't it you that you were talking about? What was it, Growing Pains?
Yeah, because like, I watched him on the
how
show.
How normal he is on that show, and it's
likable.
So weird that he's like a fanatic. Yeah, everybody liked him. He was like America's sweetheart. I think that's probably why people don't regard him as being an evil man so much, because he's like he's Kirk Cameron. He's from Growing Pains, so people are willing to give him like the benefit of the doubt.
I think he also is smart enough to stay in his own lane. Like he basically is his own echo chamber. He's not trying to like get on Dancing with the Stars,
right? Oh my God,
Hallmark movies. Like I think the Hallmark movies are a little bit too much for him. He just does these Left Behind, Surviving Christmas, which looks horrible.
Is he in current movies? Like, does he still act?
He's still making Catholic movies, yeah.
Oh, ugh.
Yeah, and they're not good. I haven't seen them, but I know he's still making them. So. It's sad.
Yeah, it's sad and it's gross, but I mean, at least it's not. At
least it's not Michael J. Fox. That would really break my heart.
Yeah. You know, fuck Kirk Cameron.
Yeah, fuck him.
Fuck Growing Pains.
Fuck that. It wasn't even that good of a show. Well,
yeah.
Who's the Boss? Way better.
Yeah, exactly.
Although Alyssa Milano is. Have you? We're gonna end the podcast in a minute, but have you ever seen the interview with Rose McGowan about Alyssa Milano?
Have I seen what?
Rose McGowan. There's a clip of an interview Rose McGowan did, and they asked her if she still talks to Alyssa Milano. Have you ever seen?
No, but I'd love to know.
Basically, they go to her. Do you like Melissa Milano? I cannot stand that woman. And they go to Rose McGowan like, but you know, she is helping out with the Me Too movement. She encourages victims to speak out all the time. Why don't you like her? Her husband works for 3 Arts. 3 Arts represents a lot of predators. You do the math. She is a double agent trying to ruin all our lives. It was just like the way she did.
Rose McGowan is a beautiful hot mess.
Yeah.
I feel bad that she's so crazy now. I'm still on. But
you know, that's why I always say that's why these guys, even in comedy, like some of the guys who have committed sexual assault on some female comedians, they always go for like the ones who are like Rose McGowan's probably was always like this. So Harvey Weinstein figured, well, who's gonna believe her? Because once she
and you know, like maybe loners to a certain amount. To a certain extent too, if they see a girl who kind of doesn't really have like a core group of friends, or you know, is a little weird. Yeah, no, I think that's definitely true.
Yeah, and like
it's essentially bullying. You know,
it's a bully. It's like, well, this person is kind of off kilter, so I'm gonna do something to them.
Yeah,
but I feel like that's
who's gonna believe her? Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, that's sad.
I again, but this is a good conversation. I heard when you were a kid and you auditioned for a Nickelodeon show, you're not actually auditioning. What's going on is, so they see what the parent does. Now, if a parent is sitting in the audition and being like, well, how many hours is my kid going to work? Who's my kid going to be with? What's going to go on? That kid could be the fucking next great actor. They're not going to cast that kid. But if a parent is like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go the grocery at the bar and have food and play some video games. Let me know when the audition's over. Thanks, I trust you. And your kid's like hot, 9 times out of 10 that kid's gonna get cast because like, oh well, we can do whatever we want to this kid. This fucking parent's off to La La Land. So They look.
No wonder all those child actors come out on the wrong side of it.
Yeah, they profile the predators and the abusers. They profile. They're not going to just randomly abuse people. They're going to profile to see who can we take advantage. Same thing in a job interview.
Yeah, who doesn't have a strong support system behind them?
Oh yeah. Same thing. When I used to be the manager at Caroline's, if somebody came in and basically like, I'll be this club's bitch and do whatever you want for free, the GM would tell me to hire them, even if I think there's something off of that person.
Yeah.
But they would want that person to be hired because, like, oh, this person's ready to only be taken advantage of. So.
Yeah, but usually those people are not the most talented.
No, well, this was hiring to be a.
Sometimes.
They were to be servers and stuff like the bartenders and stuff. I used to be the manager there.
Oh.
But that was like back in the day. Jess. Jess. Why did I think I said the wrong name? Where can people find you on social media? I'm
at Jess Feeney on Twitter, the hellscape that is Twitter, and also on Instagram. That's JUSTFEENEY. You can find me on Facebook.
Where'd you get that face?
Well, I mean, like, don't hit me up on Facebook, but I am on Facebook. But yeah,
you have some funny. You have some funny threads on Facebook. You let people know who's boss on there.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't really.
People are so stupid. I get impatient.
Yeah, you're like. Let me tell you something about this motherfucker.
All right, look.
Yeah, that's
like Joe Biden. Like, here's the deal.
Yeah.
Jack.
Yeah, I remember you fucking went off on someone from Washington D.C. the other day. It was glorious. It was great.
Yeah, sounds like me.
Okay. All right, guys, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, or if you're a fan of Jess Feeney or Frozen 2, but not Frozen 1, this is your first time listening, you're like, fuck the Frozen 1 episode. I'm going right to the Frozen 2.
Fuck you, Frozen 1.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Hans. You don't belong here.
Yeah, fuck Hans. I have done an episode now. I did every single movie made by Walt Disney Animated Studios now. It's official. Starting with Snow White to this. Never been done before. Different comic, very talented and funny, interesting, just like Jess was on this show. So please go back to the archives. Next week starts season 2. It's funny. Next week will come out. It'll be the week of we'll already know who the president is when Toy Story comes out. Next week is season 2, and we're gonna do Pixar. We're doing all 23 Pixar films from Toy Story to Soul with all new comedians. Week 1 is Toy Story 1 with Eagle Wit. Eagle Wit's a very funny guy. I'm sure you know that, right?
Yes, he's very cool. I like Eagle Wit.
Yeah, so that's going to be a great episode. So please subscribe, Goose's Disney Pod. And thank you so much for listening these past 58 weeks. And we did it. We went from 1938 to 2019. Woo! And this actually, I got to say, this is a very interesting comedy/Disney podcast. Because when this podcast started, September of 2019, the world was fine. The world was normal. Yeah. And then around Little Mermaid, everything started falling apart. And this kind of became a podcast about the end of stand-up comedy, the end of the entertainment industry, and reviewing all the Disney films that were ever made. So it's very interesting because comedians were coming on in the middle of the May or June being like, I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't know where my career is going to go. And I'll tell you where it's going to go. Our careers are all going to go nowhere. So there you go.
Yay! Jess, let's go to the movies.
Let's go to the movies to catch COVID. Jess, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone for following me this first season. We'll talk to you next time.